I think I would like to say a very good afternoon to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our information session regarding the Young Minds program for 2026. I was reflecting a little bit around this afternoon and thought to myself, wow, it's quite a difficult time of year to do something like this, as I'm sure that a lot of you, especially those of our young people who are done with matric exams, would rather want to spend some time on the beach. I saw Claire indicating in the chat that she's greeting us from a nice warm Cape Town as well. And I saw some people from Stellenbosch. So please, those youngsters who are out there, enjoy yourself, but be responsible and be careful as you go about your celebrations and the celebrations of your school career, etc. I was wondering, as I can see the numbers in the room is quite high, and I wonder how many of those who are joining us today are perhaps those of our youngsters who have just completed their matric exams. If you are one of those, maybe just raise your hand, not the actual hand, but your virtual hand. Those of you who are familiar with Zoom will know where you can go to reactions. Maybe you can just give us a wave or a thumbs up to say, I'm here, I'm a matriculant, and I am waiting with great expectation for my matric. Oh, there's some nice thumbs up and waving hands coming up there. Great, thank you, Emma and Joa, etc. I can't see everyone's name, but those names that are popping up right now. Thank you for being in the room, and we're hoping to share some information that will make you or help you to make a decision of what you want to do for 2026. So it's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of my channel director, Ms. Claire Kelly, who's in the room with us, and also on behalf of the Senior Director of the Business School, Professor Chris van der Woofen. A hearty welcome. And also you will see that we have a team that will sort of navigate this next hour with you. But welcome to everyone and also to our team. We have the agenda up on the screen for you. We like you. I hope you feel welcome. And then after that, we're going to talk about the overview of the program, which will be conducted by myself. I'm Kevin Henderson, and I'm the proposal and design specialist. After which, I would hand you over to the channel director, Ms. Claire Kelly, who would talk to you around the practicalities of the program, as well as some of the frequently asked questions. Don't worry, we will have a time where you can ask some questions that might be burning for you. We will try and answer those questions to the best of our ability. However, whilst we are presenting, if you have a burning question and you feel that you really want to just put it into the chat, you are more than welcome to do that. Our team will be able to respond. And if at the end of our session you're still unclear, you may want to bring it out back into the plenary session as well. Usually when we are in a building or a brick and mortar building, I would have asked you now to orientate yourself in terms of the security issues and bathrooms, etc. You're at your house or the comfort of your house. So please just check that there are not too much traffic in the passages in case you need to run to do your plumbing check or your lung function. But welcome, and I need to introduce our team. I'm Kevin. You've already can see me and know what my role is, but I'm also supported this afternoon by Samantha Abrahams, who is going to probably be the most important person from an admin point of view on the program. Samantha is the program manager, and she would see to all the administrative issues around the program. And then we have Charmaine Mitchell, who is our client relations person, and Charmaine would have been dealing with you via our program email address. And if you have any questions after today's session, you're more than welcome to speak to Charmaine and contact her. Her detail will be shown later in the presentation. The person in the middle is our channel director, Claire Kelly, and she's in the middle because she keeps the team together. So we're hanging on to her and she's not hanging on to us. So that's our channel director. And right on the outer right-hand side of my screen, I can see Amira Lewis, who is our program administrator. So ladies and gentlemen, the reason why you meet all of these people, because these are the people who has a vested interest, not more than the others, but directly with regard to this program. And if you have any query, it wouldn't be a bad idea to contact either one of the people that was introduced to you right now. However, I said Samantha was an important person, most important from an admin point of view. But I need to introduce you to probably the most important person in the entire program, and that is our learning process facilitator, Dr. JP Cronje. JP has been serving as our learning process facilitator. In short, we refer to him as an LPF for the last couple of years, and he has been instrumental in not only ensuring that learning takes place, but also instrumental in the innovations that we bring into and the changes that we bring into the program. As JP is our man on the ground, he is with those students all the way, and therefore being able to feedback what the needs of the students are as well. I was wondering, JP, if you wouldn't want to just take 1 minute and say good afternoon to the folk in the room. Over to you, JP.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, and I mean, as Kevin said, I'm in the classroom every day of the program with the students, so I get to know them quite well. And I always say it's a very privileged position because I first-hand witness their growth and evolution and development. So it's always a privilege to be part of that. And looking forward to hopefully welcome your son or daughter next year on the program. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, JP. Thank you so much. So he is our man on the ground, and so always interesting to hear the stories and, but most importantly, the growth that the students undergo whilst they are on the program as well. We thought it quite necessary to position where we sit at Stellenbosch University. As most of you know, universities have different faculties, and some of these faculties are hosted in what they call satellite campuses. So at Stellenbosch University, we have also the business school, which is a satellite campus, as well as, for example, the medical school and our military school on the West Coast as well. But in the business school, we have two divisions. The one division responsible for degree programs, or rather postgraduate programs, for example, postgraduate diplomas, as well as MBAs and PhDs and MPhil degrees. That's our academic colleagues on the one leg of the business school. But the program that we're offering are hosted in the division which is referred to as executive development. So you can see on my slide, on the left-hand side, it's Stellenbosch Business School Executive Development. And then on the other hand, it is just Stellenbosch Business School. So at executive development, we are responsible for developing short courses. In other words, these are not degree courses. The good thing about this, though, is that we have access to the research being done by our colleagues at the academic side of things, whilst we then are able to select our faculty from both academia as well as pragmatism. So what we tend to achieve in executive development is to ensure that our learners or our participants don't just leave with a certificate of competence from an academic point of view, but also have a thorough understanding of how this works within practice. We are, however, quality assured by our colleagues at the business school, and all our programs are certified by Stellenbosch University as well. Having said that, now let's get to the detail of the Young Minds program. So the Young Minds program, in essence, is a program that runs over about 9 months, but it's a program that we regard as a career-focused gap year for school leavers. Now, we understand that very often expectations are quite different for parents and for youngsters. So if you are a parent who are here, you might be looking at, I want my child to come next year and do something with their lives. So we need to satisfy that. And that's where we say, can we have a career focus? But the youngster might come and say, but I just want to have a gap here. But how do we get the balance right? So we have designed a program that will occupy, but with the emphasis not just on occupation or occupying them, but more on what is it that they can leave with, and how will this enhance who they are as individuals over the 9 months that the program will run. So in essence, it's a structured personal development program, or like I said earlier on, a gap year for young adults or school leavers who are not sure what they would want to do with their lives or their careers yet. I work as a psychologist as well, and I often get the question from parents around help my child to make a choice about their career. And somehow we have the expectation that with a couple of assessments, the child would be able to make a decision about their future. So I want to maybe just emphasize the difficulty for an 18-year-old, as they don't know themselves well enough yet to make such huge decisions as such. And I think for most of us who are parents, maybe some of us come from an era where that was easy to do because our choices were very limited. You know, you're going to become an engineer, you're going to become a doctor, you're going to become a dentist, a lawyer, and if you can't get into any of those, you can become a teacher. And if that also fails, maybe you can become a nurse or a policeman. But that was almost like the spectrum of the choices that we have. We know in today's world of continuous change and today's world of artificial intelligence and technology advancement, the options for our youngsters are myriad. And to help those youngsters, not necessarily to make a definitive choice, but to move closer to a sense of direction for their lives. That is what the aim is of the Young Minds program as such. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm then saying is we're not guaranteeing that your child will have a definitive answer, but what we can guarantee is that your child, depending on their investment and depending on their energy that they bring to the program, that your child will have a clearer perspective of what their options are and where they would probably best add value in terms of the future perspectives of their lives as well. You may now wonder, okay, Kevin, now where is this program taking place? Because you spoke about the satellite campus. Yes, we as a satellite campus is situated in Bellville, but the Young Minds program itself is offered on the main campus of Stellenbosch University. And we used one of the venues in the student center known as the Nielsen, where the youngsters will have their classes on a daily basis. The program will then commence on the 9th of March, and it will conclude on the 4th of November. And the rest of the afternoon, I'm going to quickly talk you through what our participants can expect to get as they journey throughout this process as well. I've mentioned earlier on that the program is run over 9 months, and the program is then offered predominantly in a face-to-face offering or learning environment. And what that means is that classes will be in person, so they will actually sit in a brick and mortar room where a live human being will facilitate. And you can see JP, as you've seen him now, that's not an avatar of JP, that's actually the real human being sitting there as well. So that is what our participants will experience when they enter into the program. I said it's predominantly face-to-face, so the classroom sessions will run in person, but there are some remote elements, and the remote elements will be the personal life plan that they will have to develop over the 9 months. They will offer that online because it's a one-on-one session that they will have with their learning process facilitator. And then also they will do some group work, and those group work sessions are also conducted remotely because it's only 5 or 6 or 8 students at a time that will meet with JP, and that's why we offer those sections of the program remotely as well. So about the program. Like I've mentioned earlier, the program is certified by Stellenbosch University, and you would not believe me when I say this, but this is the 16th year that we are offering this program, and we've had more than 1,000 alumni who have completed the program as well. The program is recommended by Stellenbosch University's Career Services, and I want to just emphasize that. What we mean by recommended, very often at the university's career services, they often encounter students who come to them being unsure about what it is that they would like to do with their lives. And from that perspective, Stellenbosch University Career Services sees this program as a very appropriate program to help students clarify that for themselves. So the program is a structured personal development program, and we use a developmental approach, and the design is also iteratively developmental for the student. And what I mean by that is that it's not a punitive approach that we have, but we are developmental. So when the youngsters struggle, our aim is to get them back on track. Our aim is not to punish them, but to get them back on track. Yes, we understand that there are consequences for your behaviors in life, and so we try and get them to understand that as well as they progress through the program. It provides flexibility while being exposed to real world or getting real world exposure. The program also enables holistic self-discovery. So like I've mentioned earlier on, a lot of, at 18-year-old, it's very difficult to know yourself intimately. And so part of the program is a process by which they will discover more of themselves. We insist on real-world exploration, which simply means that delegates or participants are expected to sort of explore and discover for themselves what are the other opportunities out there for them. So there's some stuff that we organize, that we structure, that will expose them, but there are also things that we expect that they need to focus on what we call self-directed learning, obviously with the guidance of our learning process facilitator, Dr. JP Kron here. The program also aligns talents and interests with the opportunities that may exist out in the market, and there's enough time for the youngsters to not just feel like they're in an academic program, but they can also engage in other meaningful activities. And to that extent, what that means is our classes are arranged from Monday to Wednesday. So there are 2 days in the week where they can actually engage in other meaningful activities as well. We expect them to take ownership and accountability. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult point to raise because sometimes, as I can expect, because most of us in this room, even on the staff, are also parents. And I have now been quite fortunate that I have now been successful in raising 2 kids who subsequently move on with their lives and they found their careers, etc. But one of the things that I know as a parent that's very difficult to do is to know when to let go, of the apron and all those kind of things. So when we say we expect ownership and accountability, we're encouraging parents to really move in a way. So we're not expecting you to just abdicate your child, but we're expecting you that you will wean them so that they can become well-adjusted citizens of this country as well. And lastly, the program provides significant support and guidance with some safety nets. And I'll talk later on about the one element of the program which involves coaching, which is part of the support network that we build for our delegates as well. So what is the aim of the program? The program aims to create some sense of direction for youngsters in that they can develop meaning and also look at how they can explore the different opportunities that life will offer to them. So they're exploring the real world of work. They will do it in terms of a structured personal development program. And what we are hoping to help them to get to is to match their talents with the opportunities that are out there. And part of the journey will be how they will get to know themselves better. And it's very interesting. And so JP is usually the person that can testify to that because he's with them every step of the way. The product that we get at the beginning of the year and how they show up in their final presentations at the end of the year is phenomenal, to say the least. I think it's, however, important that the aim of the program is not to give the students a formal qualification as such, but they will leave with a certificate from Stellenbosch University, which indicates their competence in certain areas as well. And that competence is linked to 3 areas, which is referred to as the following. First of all, it is around their business acumen, also around their personal mastery, also around the entrepreneurial thinking. So in essence, we expose the students to an holistic developmental approach, which encompasses all of those areas that I've just mentioned as well. But just for completion's sake, let me say it's around business acumen, which we refer to as the art of creating value and profit. It's around entrepreneurial thinking. So we're not hoping to make them entrepreneurs, but we're saying, how can, because not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but how can youngsters begin to think in different ways about generating income other than just working for a corporate? And then lastly, we're looking at personal mastery, which we regard as the art of creating a life of fulfillment. At the end of the program, we're hoping the individual will leave as an empowered person with a sense of personal vision and an internal locus of control, but a lot of self-confidence, showing and demonstrating entrepreneurial thinking, dealing with business, but also maintaining a balanced lifestyle as well. The manner in which we roll the program out is that we follow a dual pathway of teaching, which encompasses that there will be theoretical input in class, but there's also opportunity for the participant to put what they've learned in class into practice as well. So some of the classroom-driven work will help the students to look at different frames and different theoretical models, but the application needs to happen in their self-organized projects, even though we also have other projects that we organize for them, but most of that application needs to happen within self-organized projects as well. From a content perspective, the list that you see on the left-hand side of the slide is the content that the participants will be dealing with. They start out early in the year by looking at dealing with the academic writing skills. We have a module that focuses on e-commerce. They will be focusing on financial management, marketing, people management, team dynamics. And they'll be dealing with their own mental models and paradigms and how to think efficiently and effectively. We're going to deal with the impact of neuro leadership. In other words, how does the brain help them to maximize their potential? We're going to focus on the entrepreneurial process. They'll deal with operations planning and project management. We have sessions on career planning and project management, economics, emotional intelligence, self-leadership, innovation, and obviously they will end up demonstrating their presentation skills. And from that perspective, they have also input on how to structure, but also deliver impactful presentations as well. At the end of the year, the participants will take all of that information and they will present a life plan to their LPF, but also, so the life plan is an individual piece that they are working on, but they also have to learn to work with other people. And so from that perspective, they will also do some group projects as well. This year, for 2026, for the first time, the participants will now be involved in 2 group projects, where for the first semester, they will be working in a particular syndicate team where we will give them a business challenge that they need to find solutions for. And in the second semester, they will come up with will generate their own business ideas. And then we will put them in a separate syndicate team. And that's just to help them to focus on different aspects of group work and business, but also so that they can also network with more people on the program as well. And then with regards to what you can expect on the program, I've made a big hoo-ha earlier on around the need for them to discover themselves more. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Johari window, which you see on the screen, so what we're trying to do for our youngsters is to help them to get that public side bigger. Because if we reduce the blind side, and if we reduce the hidden potential, and we reduce the private side, we're making the public side bigger. So part and parcel of that will be, how will they make the blind side bigger, which is the side that other people can see about you, but they don't know, is to get feedback. And that feedback will be given by the faculty, by the learning process facilitator, and in some ways, their coaches. But there's also this private side, which is known to them, but other people don't know that. And so during the process, they will learn how to disclose relevant information about themselves so that other people can learn and they can reduce the private side, and by that doing also then increase the public side. And then throughout the coaching sessions, which they will receive, they will discover things that the coach didn't know, but they also didn't know, and that will take care of the hidden side of their lives. In other words, that is the way we will help them to expand the public side. And another way of putting that is to say, then learning so much more of who they are and learning how they can use that to their advantage and benefit in life as well. So from an assessment point of view, the program makes use of a psychometric assessment, which they will do at the beginning of the year, which we refer to as the Strengths Finder. It is a rather useful tool that we use, which will focus them on their strengths. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that the schooling system does, it tells us about what we cannot do. And what we want to change their paradigms around is for them to start focusing on that which they can do, that which they can regard as their strengths. And that's why we do the psychometric assessment at the beginning of the year. In addition to that, they will do other general assessments, which would be assignments that they need to submit. And in addition to that, they'll also have to do 2 exams as well, an exam for the first semester and an exam for the second semester as well. We do expect of them to do job shadowing, which we structure in such a way when they are on school or during the holidays, so that they can have the convenience of being in their hometown and use organizations there that they can work with. And then ultimately, they have to go through 5 life coaching sessions, which we provide the coaches for. And so every participant, they have to go through 5 compulsory life coaching sessions. In fact, if they haven't completed their life coaching sessions, they will not be able to receive their certificate of competence, because that is such a critical part of the element of the program. Now, you might be asking the question, Kevin, what does this lead up to? What does all of this mean? So now I said it doesn't lead to a degree program. But one of the things that we have arranged for our participants is that we have an arrangement with the University of Lincoln, which is an international business school in the UK. And at successful completion of the Young Minds program, students will get admission or qualify to get admission for the foundational degree in operations management at the University of Lincoln. So it doesn't get them access or direct access into the University of Stellenbosch or any other university in South Africa, but it does get them access to the University of Lincoln, which is a remote program that they can offer, or distance learning program that they can do as a first initial degree. If you need more information about that, you can contact either myself or Charmaine or Samantha or any one of my colleagues in the room. So, having said that, what are the admission requirements? At this point in time, this is a program that we have dedicated for school leavers, but we do have youngsters that have completed a first degree and would still want to enroll for the Young Minds program. So our maximum age for admission is 23. There's no specific grade 12 subjects required, but we do expect them to at least have a 55% average for their preliminary or mid-year grade 12 results. When the participant applies, whatever is their most recent grade 12 results need to be submitted with their application. So their most recent would either be the prelims that they wrote in September, and if they haven't written prelims, they can submit their grade 12 results or June results as well. Once they have been accepted, the acceptance is only final once they have submitted their final results on receipt of it in January of 2026. When the participant applies, we're going to need a copy of the participant and or whoever is sponsoring. If it's the parent's ID, but if you have someone else who's sponsoring you, that ID is also required. The application process is as follows. You can apply via the link that will be shared in the chat or via the email that you will receive. And thank you, Talenta, for posting it in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. You can find it right there. We will confirm your success of your application within 24 to 48 hours. Please note that admission is on a first come, first served basis, and applications will close on the 16th of February 2026. Important information that I think will be useful. Remember, the program or the participants will be supported by an LPF and 5 certified coaches. They will have 5 coaching sessions per participant. That is compulsory. That's a minimum of 5. They can access more, which will then be for their own account, but that 5 coaching sessions is included in the price that they will pay for the program. They need at least to do 20 notional hours for the World of Work project that they need to complete, that I've referred to earlier on. And then also, all participants must have a minimum of 50% for every activity, because that is the pass requirement. And maybe I need to emphasize that. We're not looking at an average of 50%, but each activity, each assignment, each project, each presentation, they need to get 50% for that to be able to pass. If they did not get 50% for any of those, they have one opportunity to resubmit, and then that resubmission will be capped at 50% as well. And last but not least, we're trying to move away of giving youngsters a target in terms of their class attendance. And so therefore we say all attendance for classes and activities is compulsory. We do understand that sometimes things go wrong. If the student is ill, they will have to submit a SIG certificate to the program manager who manages that for us. And if the student needs to rewrite a matric subject, which often happens, we would expect them to submit the timetable for when they're writing, their timetable that is, and then they have to make up that notional hours that they've lost in class if they couldn't attend as well. I just noticed quickly, there was a question in the chat asking about what is the world of work. The world of work is the exposure that we want our participants to have to what is happening in the real world out there. So that implies they could, for example, get themselves a part-time job. They could come and ask us to help them if they need maybe a letter because they want to go and shadow a particular career, etc. But it's that exposure which is linked to self-directed learning for the world of work. Amongst other, they are expected to complete a business model canvas in their placement with an NPO, but also in the placement of their world of work as well. I hope I clarified that question. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, let me hand over to Claire Kelly, who will talk to us about the program schedule and the important dates for 2026. Claire, may I hand over to you?
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin, and good afternoon, everyone. Just from my side, just the preliminary program schedule for next year. So semester 1 will kick off with the orientation week from the 9th to the 12th of March. And then they'll go straight into that learning period 1, which is the 16th to the 27th of March. And as discussed earlier or spoken earlier, Kevin has indicated that it'll be at Stellenbosch University campus. And then there'll be a recess from the 28th of March to the 6th of April. We will then kick off our next learning period from the 7th of April to the 15th of May, where we go into another recess from the 28th of June to the 19th of July. Learning period 3 will then kick off on the 20th of July to the 4th of September. And then another short recess from the 5th to the 13th of September, where we will go into the last learning period from the 14th of September to the 23rd of October. And the final period will be from 2 to 4 November. And then our certificate ceremony will be in December, and we will still confirm that date. And as discussed by Kevin, there's obviously exam weeks. There'll be 2 sets of exam weeks during the program. And that'll be 1 exam week per semester. Very, very important to note the parent orientation session, and that we have on the 25th of February from 4:30 to 5:30, and this is via Zoom. So all parents will receive that link from the program manager. All right. Just answering some frequently asked questions. As said earlier, no specific grade 12 subjects is or are required for admission to the Young Minds program. And the minimum age for admission to the program is 23. The minimum average of 55 for your mid-year and final grade 12 results are required. So the program, as we said earlier, will be held in Stellenbosch on the campus, just above the Nielsie. And the program is fully face-to-face, and there are a few remote learning touchpoints. And as discussed earlier, that would be some of your coaching, well, all of your coaching sessions, and then some of the group work that you would like to do after hours. And attendance, I think this is quite important. Attendance of all classes and activities over the 9 months is compulsory to attend. And like we said earlier, we know life happens. But then you would have to have a sick note that would need to go to your program manager to excuse you from those class days. The program does not offer credit exemption towards any of the undergraduate degrees at Stellenbosch. And the program fees for 2026 is 75,000, and this is inclusive of that. So just to note that the fees exclude any accommodation, transport, equipment, the data that might be needed, and other personal cost. So we have a partnership with Capitec, and one of our colleagues will put that link in the chat now, which offers credit at a very favorable rate for our Young Minds parents. And the balance of the program fees needs to be done by the 27th of February 2026.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and for investing the time with us this afternoon. We wish you well, go safe on the road, and all of the best.